We can all gather in when she comes over. She will come to the room and not licensed, not interested.
One of those.
A normie.
Yeah, exactly. But she tolerates you.
She does.
Yeah.
Very patient normie.
That's right.
Why do you have me so quiet? Hi, everyone. And thanks for coming out for this celebration of Moxie's life. And thank you, Moxie, for bringing all these people into my life, into each other's lives. I just want to thank, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge family. Moxie's sister is here. Rachel, thank you for being here. I'm sorry for your loss. I know it's been really rough for you, and I know, unfortunately, Moxie's folks passed away, was it 20 years ago? I think it was last week for your mom, yeah, for Karen. Yeah, it's rough going. I also want to thank, I want to acknowledge, I should probably read this closely. I want to acknowledge the people who aren't here but wanted to be. There's a few folks who just had conflicts with the date, and people who are sick. We'll have videos from some of them. I know that there are some of you who are not on this list who want to speak, so we'll have some time for that as well. I also want to say that after this is all over, you all are all welcome to come over to my house. It would be backyard only due to the cats. Obviously, if we have to get a house for the restroom, whatever, but there's can be some shade, lots of seating. So if you don't have the address, hit me up, or anyone you think might know the address, I'll get it to you. So, and there was one other thing that will come to me that I didn't write down, and it's floating in my brain, but it will come up. So if you haven't had something to eat, be sure to do that during the break. If you don't have a program in the lyrics to the song we're singing, actually probably would be more important that everyone have bubbles, because we'll be doing the bubble break a little on the earlier side of things, but no lyrics there. Yeah, so we are going to hear from several speakers and some changes, so around 9, 10, something like that. I did ask them to prepare and practice their speech and keep it to around 5 minutes. I've done none of that. So this was printed at about 9 a.m. This is a celebration of life. It's not a sales pitch. I don't need to sell you on all on how great Moxie was. You all know that. That's why you're here. I feel really blessed to have had Moxie in my life and in such a close and intimate way. I knew her for 34 years. We met at the College of Marin Echo Times newspaper office in September of 1992. I remember the first time I laid eyes on her. I do. I was already there in the room. She walked through the door, and there was just an aura about her that I held forever. started dating within 4 months of that. I remember our first kiss also at the College of Marin. Frequent visits to the Corte Madera Park, going to toy stores. We both love going to toy stores. She loved Bubbles in particular. That's why we have the Bubbles here. Over the years, she got to know me like no one else, and I knew her like no one else. I miss her tenacity, her humor, her quick wit. Just about 10 years ago, she sent me a link to a review on Yelp that she had written. It was titled "Your Husband." I made a particularly good breakfast for her one day, and so she created a new business called Your Husband and wrote this review of that breakfast in me. So, going back more on a timeline here, we just, we were spending all of our time together, and after a couple of years, when my folks moved back to Maryland, about 1995, I moved in with her. We were married on June 29th, 1997. At some point a few years later, we always knew the day, but we couldn't remember the year. And the easiest way for us to look that up was to remember that the night before our wedding, at the little party and everything, people were watching the Mike Tyson Evander Holyfield boxing match where Tyson bit off Holyfield's ear. So after that, pretty easy to remember that year, when that was. A year later, we moved to Seattle because Moxie got a job working for Archie McPhee. It didn't last long, as you'll hear from our friend John in the video. At some point, it became Archie McFired in our lexicon. But that led her to her next job at a video store, where she got the nickname Moxie, which later became her name. It's funny, in a way, she was always Moxie. The way I and everyone who knew her just adopted that was just a very clear indication of just how much that name just was her. Later she worked with kids at the Boys and Girls Club, and she loved working with kids. She was great at it. The kids loved her, and her teammates loved her, and she loved working with them. She eventually even became director of a Boys and Girls Club, and I know some of this was before she became director, but that's where she met Leanne and Shelley and Nick, and I'm not blanking on someone else. No, I think that's who's here. Around that same time, she began needle felting, and she took to it quickly. She didn't even know there was such a thing as 3D felting, but she just kind of made it happen and quickly became an expert at it. It became more than just a craft. It became a means of artistic expression for her. She made incredibly expressive, weird, lovely, freaky art, and taught it to others as well. She loved teaching, and she was also just so great at that. Unfortunately, her health continued to worsen after she was hospitalized. In 2012, she began using supplemental oxygen full time. Also, her rheumatoid arthritis worsened to the point where eventually she had to stop needle felting. It was just so hard on her hands. But she found other artistic avenues because she was tenacious. She was a fucking fighter. She kept making art. She kept growing and learning. She found IFS, where she met Michelle, David, Khalid, Brenda, she always knew this was going to happen, that she was going to pass early, just with the health issues. I mean, I didn't know the timeline or the details. And I wish she sort of knew. The last time she was in the hospital in 2023, I thought this was going to be, I felt like a dress rehearsal, and it kind of was. And then this time when she was in the hospital, she was still so convinced though she was going to make it home. She so desperately wanted to be back home with me and with the cats. And it breaks my heart that she never got to come home to see the cats. She loved our cats, Stella and Kanish, and just as she loved our previous cats. It's important to me to mention that today, June 20th, marks 8 years since the passing of our beloved Snafu. She was torty. She was feisty, just like Moxie, and also wicked smart, and I miss her. It was hard to lose both her and her brother, Hermano, but the lessons of that grief have been really valuable in the last couple of months. Moxie was my best friend, my girlfriend, my safe place, my partner, my wife, my consigliere. She was my partner in all the big, hairy bullshit. She made it all worthwhile. I'm glad for every day I had with her, even the difficult ones. I'll always wish I had more, and I'll hold on to all of the time and the memories I had with her. What else can I do? We had a good thing going. We loved each other. We love each other. I'll keep that in the present. I'm glad all of you got to know her and love her too. I'm glad you all know how special she is. And that all of us being here is proof that she's still here in some way in the present. I just want to mention that when she passed, I talked to others about creating a memorial site for her. I want to thank Michelle for suggesting the domain name of moxieliveshere.com. It's .net. A few of you who get that joke, nerds. Moxie would write the phrase, "Moxie lives here," at the beginning of each of her art journals. She lived in those journals. They were an expression of her qualities, her aspirations, her convictions, her doubts, her growth, her love. And some of what is in her art journal, some of her art, some of which you've contributed for today and in the past, those things will eventually be a part of moxieliveshere.com. There's a holding page up there now, but there will be more coming. For now, thank you all for being here, for me, for Moxie, and for coming here together today. I love all of you, and I remember the thing I was going to bring up earlier. I would love that for folks to take pictures. I really would like to see pictures of people congregating together and talking. So if you see groups, people talking, just grab some pictures and make sure you maybe get them to me, because I think that's really an important part of today. So, as I mentioned, we have a list of speakers. First is going to be Nicola.
My name is Nicola, and I'd like to spend a few minutes bragging about Moxie. The first time I talked with her was at I Heart Rummage, for any of you who remember that, where she and her sister Rachel were selling their creations. I remember inviting them to participate in the first Urban Craft Uprising. Fast forward to her being one of our core vendors, and we were at an event in front of the Seattle Asian Art Museum. I remember her watching me as I needle felted, and her asking me if I could show her how. About a week later, we met at a cafe. Her father had just died, and this was the first time we were spending time together as friends, and it felt like an important moment. She was vulnerable and shared with me about her parents, and I started getting an insight into her life growing up. I remember being sad she had lost her father, but being really psyched that we were becoming friends. Moxie brought with her, this is seriously like a week later, some felted wristbands she had made to show me how she was experimenting with needle felting. Even within that short amount of time, she was already way more technically advanced than me, and thinking of all kinds of novel applications despite her having just learned how to do it. Moxie went on to have her work in the Bellevue Art Museum, which is amazing, and also in the Exploratorium in San Francisco. She took over my craft kit business, which she expanded and improved well beyond what I had done. She also went on to lead Urban Craft Uprising, and with many of the folks who are here today, took it to the next level as well. I was always so impressed with Moxie, but especially how she did all of these things against the backdrop of physical limitations and pain. Moxie had an enormous influence on my life. I don't know if she knew that I called her my guru. I wasn't sure how she'd feel about that, but I looked up the meaning, and one of the definitions is guide in matters of fundamental concern. And that was definitely Moxie for me. Something would happen in my life, and I would think, just wait till I tell Moxie about this. Moxie was wise and able to hold the complexity of a situation like nobody else. She could be there for you while you shared how completely garbage someone was. And she could hold space for that person's parts and past with compassion, but at the same time not in a way that detracted from how you were feeling, which to me is an amazing skill. She lent insight and different ways of looking at things. People in my life knew that Moxie was my go-to person. If I shared something I was struggling with, like with my mom, she wouldn't say, well, what does your therapist say about that? She would say, well, what does Moxie have to say about that? People in my life who had never met Moxie had deep respect for her and knew what a loss it was when she died. Moxie was so good at repair. She was always up for going deep and looking at something hard, and she would own her own piece in such a beautiful way. Moxie could challenge me in ways that were sometimes hard to hear, and for which I'm so grateful. I could and did tell Moxie my ugliest, darkest fears and feelings, and she held space for that too. A common refrain from her was, that totally makes sense. Because whatever your parts were experiencing, whatever you were feeling, it all made sense to her, and she was here for it. I miss her so much. Before she died, I was able to have a breakthrough with my daughter that had a lasting impact, and it was directly due to a conversation with Moxie. I'm so glad I got to share with her at least one example of her profound impact on me before we lost her. Moxie was there for me through so much family and relationship strife, and of course when I lost my youngest child, Bibi. My greatest hope now is that Moxie and Bibi are together somewhere hanging out. I love you, Moxie.
This is vulnerable. Okay, not used to this. Okay. Got a lot of parts. Okay. Paul, Rachel, and all who love her, we gather today to celebrate the life of our beloved Moxie, whose life was cut short by illness her body could no longer bear. For 10 years, I had the profound privilege of calling Moxie my friend. She was my best friend. She was my family. In that decade, she taught me more about patience, persistence, creativity, the importance of process, and love than I could have imagined possible. I'm really trying not to dissociate. She and I built something rare, a secure attachment between two adults who didn't plan on doing any such thing. Together we learned how to repair ruptures and keep loving each other through it. Do you know how difficult it is to build a secure attachment with someone when those someones were filled with childhood trauma expressed as protection and wounds? Yes, very difficult. With Moxie, I learned what safety and trust looks and feels like in a relationship. To begin with, it's important to name the circumstances. It's important to name the circumstances and conditions in which she endured each day. Yes, she had the safety of a house that she and Paul owned and lived in with their two remarkable cats, Stella and Kanish. She would want this name because she was very grateful for this comfort and privilege. Alongside this, she and Paul were forced to live in quarantine for the past 6 years in order to do their best to maintain safety. This needs to be acknowledged. We're living in a capitalist society that prioritizes profit over people. And because of this, the most vulnerable among us, including Moxie, have been swept aside as not worth protecting. It makes me so mad, but that's another conversation for another day. Quarantine was an ongoing struggle for her, for Paul too, but that's for him to share. Moxie was basically trapped in her house while most of the world around her moved on. It's something she often talked with me about, and her words expressed the crushing weight of this isolation. Coupled with this isolation, she dealt with impaired lung function and unpredictable chronic pain. This all affected her ability to function. For Moxie, every day was a struggle and a constant negotiation of what she wanted to do versus what she had the capacity for. I feel like I'm really bringing the mood down, but this feels important to name. Nevertheless, Moxie was persistent as fuck. She continued to show up each day for her life, to keep going, to keep expressing herself in myriad ways, to not just endure, but to heal and grow, to continue to nurture her relationships, to continue to unfold and blossom. We were the recipients of her incredible, persistent light. I would definitely not be the Michelle that stands here today without the Moxie we all knew and loved. She was an artist, even though parts of her struggled with that label. She was an artist that continued to evolve in form, technique, and understanding of process. I got to bear witness to that artistic process unfolding and her struggle within it. Her access to it and continued growth in it were hard-won. She fought for it every day in ways big and small. And she welcomed others with gentleness and care to step into their own art process or look at it from a safe distance, even if that meant holding a colored pencil and noticing what thoughts and feelings arose as one considered making a mark with said colored pencil. Moxie was filled with presence and depth, and conversations with her lasted for hours as time stretched and deepened. One of my favorite ways to spend a day. She was whip smart and incredibly funny in ways that highlighted her intelligence. She often said, "The only way to find out is by doing," and she did her best to live by those words. She was always willing to try, to experiment, to dive into process and see where it led. When she reflected on the processes in her life or art, or talked about the dynamics in a book or film, or in making sourdough bread, she had a depth of capacity to see and speak for nuance and complexities in ways that most others missed. Moxie's compassion extended far beyond her immediate circle. She had a fierce desire for all people to have what they need, to have basic human rights. She understood viscerally how violent our capitalist society is for most people, herself included. And she did what she could to advocate for that within the limitations I've already mentioned. It's hard to find one word that captures who Moxie was. Unique, curious, exceptional, certainly unforgettable. As we say goodbye to our dear Moxie today, I want us to remember the Moxie we all knew and loved, that she loved fiercely, many of us the recipients of that love. I know I was, and it changed me. She is imprinted on me in ways that will forever inform how I show up in life. Moxie, you will be forever missed. Thank you for showing us how to live with depth, how to love with an open heart, and how to meet life with all its challenges. I love you. Thank you for being my friend.
both mourn the loss and celebrate the life of our precious, special, beautiful friend, Moxie Lieberman. Moxie's health has been fragile since I met her over 20 years ago, and of course even before then. But her dedication to human connection and personal growth has always been at the center of who she is. For the last 6 years, Moxie, and of course Paul, to protect her, had to make the ultimate sacrifice to remain quarantined after so many of us returned in one way or another to normal life. This time was difficult and wearing on Moxie's soul, but her drive to protect her life was steadfast. So much of her energy was spent protecting her vitality and caring for herself, as well as creating art and personal expression that was affirming of that life force. Moxie fought so hard for several weeks in the hospital without really ever seriously considering that this was the end. And I admit that I also really never thought it was the end, or seriously considered that we would lose her. I met Moxie while working at the after-school program when I was 25 years old. I was immediately enamored with her. I saw her as a fearless leader and just like a total badass human. Moxie was progressive as hell in her ideas of how to engage children, and she was also quite rebellious when it came to dealing with the leadership. I'd never really met an adult quite like her, so I hardcore pursued a friendship with her, even though she was technically my boss. She was a little reluctant at first, but I eventually won her over when I showed up at her birthday party, as you do, with a choreographed dance number to Bikini Kill's Rebel Girl, and I laid it all out. She's the queen of the neighborhood, and I want to be your best friend. Over the years, our friendship deepened, and I'm proud to say I did become her best friend. We shared so many inside jokes. Our text thread held a plethora of well-developed comedy bits, including a series where Moxie spoke to me as if she were a bear. And trust me, this was fucking hilarious. We celebrated holidays together. The three of us, Moxie, Paul, and I, all lived together for a couple of years. We were in multiple art practice groups. We processed our challenges and relationships with others and with each other. We studied therapy simultaneously, and we watched so many movies. Moxie was my favorite person to talk to about film. I always wondered how she was able to both catch and interpret the metaphors and symbolism so well. It seemed to delight her to engage in this way, and I loved listening to it. Moxie was always my biggest cheerleader, not only encouraging the most extra parts of my personality, but downright celebrating them. For years we did karaoke at Sunset Bowl in Ballard, and the very seasoned karaoke jockey insisted that I absolutely was forbidden to dance there because they didn't have a cabaret license. Well, I of course was outraged because I'm a person who must dance when music is playing, and so Moxie, being my biggest enabler, took it upon herself to grant me my very own laminated cabaret license with my photo, which permitted me to dance anywhere I deemed necessary. Just have some water. As many of you know, for years, Moxie had been on a heroic healing journey, informed by her therapeutic study and practice. She was fiercely dedicated to being present for her pain both physical and emotional, and just as dedicated to understanding the complexities of the people she loved the most. She is the one, in fact, who informed me that I most likely have ADHD. Turns out she was completely spot on. Seems a little crazy of me to point that out. But. Moxie's love and devotion for me has completely informed my sense of self. Through Moxie's eyes, I can see just how absolutely fucking lovable I am, and how she and I are, as in the way we would often sign off on our text messages over the years, hashtag totally worth it, exclamation point. The loss of Moxie's presence in my life these last 6 years, as I once knew it, challenged our bond many times. It was incredibly hard to sustain the connection that I had depended on for so long with Moxie in quarantine. I didn't always know how to bridge the gap between our drastically different daily lives. Her grief and anguish over being left behind was a painful burden that she carried, and I never felt I could really completely hold it with her in the way that she needed. We remained dedicated to our relationship, and we did our very best to repair the chasms that came up between us. Moxie, bestie, wifey, sister, you're the great love of my life, a dream of a best friend. You're the wind beneath my wings. You're an absolutely beautiful and unforgettable human. I could never thank you enough for how profoundly you've influenced my beliefs, my creativity, my successes, my humor, and my confidence. I'm so grateful that we had so much precious time together, and I'll never be without you until the day I die. I love you.
Yes, there are many patches of Kleenex if you I'll need them. So next up is going to be a video contribution. I didn't want to have them all clustered, at once. So the first one's just probably going to take an extra couple seconds to get running. It's set up as like kindergarten.
My name is David, and I regret that I can't be there today, but I'm very thankful that Paul has allowed me to record something. I knew Moxie for about 8 years. Been in an IFS training, and we're therapy nerds ever since. I'm going to start the celebration of Moxie by saying just how all kinds of smart she is. Not only therapy nerd smart, but smart with music, emotional intelligence, art, she's great, great person at telling me about musicals, films. She was also good with animals, smart with cats, Finish and Stella, squirrels outside, and birds. We gotta keep this short, I can tell you a lot of stories. Moxie to celebrate how beautiful she was. We all know that she's beautiful, that face. Her entire being in those cloud-like sweaters, her vibrant hair, all the way down to the Chuck Taylors. Moxie had charisma, she had an aura and all that stuff. Her real exceptional ability was attunement. She deeply saw people. She noticed, and she was very curious. It was validating and loving. I can't say that enough, how loving of a person Moxie seemed to be. I rarely saw Moxie in person because of the pandemic, and but we did Zoom back then, and we had a very good connection. She taught me how to feel safe with someone and how to build a deep friendship. We did online art classes together, and she taught me, we both learned about terror and dread, and shame, introspection, and bravery, and also acceptance. I celebrate Moxie's tenaciousness, her health, constant challenge every damn day, and Moxie's emotions. She also was tenacious. It makes sense that her street art tag name was Feels. She had a lot of feels. She had a lot of parts with a lot of emotions, and she did very hard work with no shortcuts to be with all her emotions, and with everybody else's emotions as well. She was fun. I don't know where to begin with that or where to end. She was a lot of fun. She and I would swap videos of snails getting married. She didn't know us or me, but she told me once she was successful in mailing a construction cone to somebody. So she was fun and clever and one of a kind that way. While she was fun, she did not like the positivity prism that a lot of people would like to champion. She wanted people to be authentic. She wanted all her parts to be seen. We would joke with each other sometimes and say, live, love, laugh, and both groaning and laughing. And here's the thing. We all know that Moxie did love. She was full of love. She loved so much. It seemed to come easily for her. And Moxie did laugh, a catalog of laughs, an instigator of laughs. She had one laugh in particular that I love, which I can't do. I've tried it and I had to stop the video because it was so bad. I think we all have our favorite Moxie laughs, and I'll never forget those. And she lived a life cut too short. And we all know how lucky we are to have known her at all. And we'll forever miss her courageous light. So that's what I celebrate. Just what an amazing, amazing person Moxie was. I'll miss her forever.
One morning when I was 10 years old, I was at my synagogue in Larkspur, California, attending prayer services as a part of Sunday school. I peered around the temple, taking note of my fellow students and the wizened congregants, when I noticed an older student who wore a denim jacket with a big round button. The button read in large text, "Sounds like bullshit to me." And that was my first Moxie sign. I could only think, man, she's got chutzpah. We became friends a couple of years later when my family moved to a house within walking distance of the Lieberman. We went through high school learning about the important things, like how hilariously blasphemous Monty Python's Life of Brian was, and how exactly many F-bombs were dropped in the movie Midnight Run. I forget the exact number, but it was somewhere in the low 3 figures. We bummed around Corte Madera, where I worked at a video store and she toiled at the nearby liquor store. She spent time in design school in San Francisco, then landed at the College of Marin, where she grew into the fully wonderful person she was meant to be. She became the nexus of a group of close friends, the first of several communities she would bring. And she connected with Paul, becoming a pair so complementary, so simpatico, and so supportive of each other. An enduring bond of love, respect, and chronic silliness. A few years later, as a married couple, they chose to start a life together in Seattle. Moxie had a singular desire to work for Archie McPhee, the company of kitschy and arch toys and novelties, which nominally matched her sense of whimsy. She got the job, but it was short-lived, and it fell far short of her expectations. And for that, I say to you, fuck Archie McPhee. Despite that bit of disappointment, Moxie remained irrepressible. I considered her my North Star of DIY and offbeat pop culture. Without her guidance, I wouldn't have truly appreciated zines as an art form, or grasped the concept of fat activism, or consumed the artistic genius of James Gachalka, or been subjected to the oddities of Seattle's public access TV. Programs like Jerk Beast and The Goddess Crane. Those are deep cuts. I wouldn't have had the pleasure of working with her friend Damien, and her sister Rachel on a film called Gravitas, which I wish you could see. But most importantly, without Moxie's heart, spirit, and command of pathos and catharsis, I would have simply looked upon bolts of felt and shrugged, never knowing the power she could unleash with an industrial needle. There was no one as tailor-made for the maker culture, or as relatable and welcoming to the curious newbies. I remember Moxie's brilliant eulogy for her beloved father, Gene. And I wish I could summon the same quality of her piercing words to convey the depth of our collective loss and sorrow. My dearest friend of 40 years. My best woman at my wedding 20 years ago this week. For every forced use of the past tense in writing this remembrance, I am jabbed with the sharp unfairness and injustice of her passing. But the transcendent light, color, and energy she brought to this world live on to steer me back to appreciation and celebration. May her memory forever be a blessing to us all, and may the life that will flourish from her provide shade and comfort. Not with the balls.
Who's got bubbles? We need some bubbles. Some of you have some. Take some down, pass it around. I don't know how to program it on a tax. I don't know. Just kidding, I'm good. Little, like, insert the shoulder.
Well, you won't have to, we just have to jump in the shower.
I guess so. Yeah, well said that.
We'll be soaked.
Should probably call people back.
Just what to do the whole time. Be free.
Hi, my name is Leanne Lausch-Vachon. Moxie and I met when she hired me at age 23, half of my lifetime ago, when she was the assistant director at a Boys and Girls Club in Seattle. We began as co-workers and soon became great friends. She would end up hiring me not once or twice, but 3 times at different programs, and for a year, we even had a business leading art activities for kids and trainings for adults. Few people in my life vocalized curiosity about me the way Moxie did. She always wanted to know how I was, how I really was. The workplace drama, the latest family dynamics, the uncomfortable realization I'd had about myself. Good noticing, she'd say, when I shared these observations. She cared, and she also recognized that emotional insight was often hard-earned. It may sound self-centered, but looking back on her time in the hospital this winter, for me, one of the surest signs that she wasn't doing well was her lack of capacity to express interest in me, in most of the people that she loved. Moxie was curious, and she was also unrestrained in her expressions of love, filling birthday cards with her perfect handwriting and one of her favorite messages, "I'm glad you were born." It feels too formal and straight-laced to call Moxie a role model, but she was 9 years older than me, and when we met, she was married and had a good job, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. There wasn't a part of my life she didn't make better through her astute advice. When I was freaking out about turning 30, it would have been well within her rights to tease me, but instead she said that when she turned 30, she was just happy to have made it to that age with her personality intact. Society had not robbed her of that. And this instantly shifted my perspective, calmed me down, even made me feel some of the pride she must have felt at her own milestone. Moxie was always doing that, reframing a person, situation, or event to help me, us, see it differently, and as a result, have a new way to experience life, a new set of tools to navigate with. But she also just modeled life through the way she lived it. She loved kids, especially the smart and interesting ones, the ones with an anti-authority streak, a subversive sense of humor, sass. She modeled how to deeply appreciate and care for children without having them, and to do it all in a remarkably unremarkable way that was totally new to me, a way without mixed feelings or regret. She previewed for me what a fun, communicative marriage could look like without kids. And she was there for my own romantic relationship journey, from encouraging me to go after certain guys, and making me a killer mix CD after a bad breakup, to helping my husband write his wedding vows, and hosting my bachelorette party. For that, she made a cake where the frosting was done to look like quicksand. She stuck the head of a Ken doll in it and wrote an icing, "Mission accomplished." small moments of role modeling were often just as important as the large ones. I remember once watching her read a card from an acquaintance, none of you here, seriously, I didn't know who it was, they're not here, and then promptly throw it in the trash. I was shocked. What, she said, not unkindly, I read it. She showed me that not everything needs to be kept. But she wanted to keep me, and I'm forever grateful for that. Starting because of COVID, we Zoomed every 2 weeks, and the timing with her hospital stay meant 3 canceled hangouts. One a few days after she was admitted on January 2nd, the next 2 weeks later, and the third was on her last day. I suppose it's the bargaining or denial part of my group that keeps workshopping jokes in my head about this, knowing that she would have loved the dark humor of it. We were supposed to Zoom, but instead you died. Or, if you didn't want to hang out, you could have just said something. About 2 years ago, we started taking turns choosing a movie, watching it individually, and then discussing it at our next Zoom. The only rule was it had to be brand new to at least one of us. She had seen so many things and introduced me to classics I'd overlooked, from Alien to Drop Dead Gorgeous, and the rare times I could introduce her to something like Get Out or Moonstruck were so gratifying. Our last Zoom was in mid-December, just days after Rob Reiner was killed. I told her I was surprised at how hard his death was hitting me. She empathized and said it was a place to put all our grief over everything wrong in the world. Now with her gone, for me her death isn't a proxy or a container. It's its own awful thing, a show-stopping banner headline. I wish I could hand her this metaphor like a gift I know she'd like. A deli pickle, a small blooming cactus, something to tell her, you are the lead story, kiddo. I'm glad you were born, she loved to write. Implicit in that was, and I'm grateful you lived and you're in my life. That's how we all feel, beyond grateful to have lived our lives with her. Thanks.
Unfortunately, Damien was unable to make it. He's ill. Wishes he could be here. I do too. I do have I don't have a video from him because it was pretty last minute, but I do have a video from someone who actually will fit in this alphabetic order as well. So, and he was in. Yeah. Well, yeah. So another old friend, John Meyer, who lives in Germany now, was able to get me a video. So just a moment, I'll cue that up.
Hey everybody, my name is John. I've known Paul and Moxie for over 30 years, I think, since we met in College of Marin, back in Marin County. This is probably my 5,025th take of this, because I'm just that way. So I'm just gonna dive into an email that I wrote to Paul back then, back in February, that is. And because I think it really sort of summarizes what I was feeling. I'm sorry if it sounds a little rehearsed, but after all, this is my 5,025th take. So let's get it on. Hey Paul, I sent a note to you on IG a while back, but it wasn't much as I was still processing what I wanted to say about Moxie's passing. I'm sure after all this time that has passed, there's little left unsaid about what a truly unique and remarkable person she was. So many of her quips and facial expressions live rent-free in my head, and they will be there forever. I think one of my favorites was when we were all watching some beauty pageant and the spectacle of it all, and it was the swimsuit competition, where the contestants unveiled themselves by removing their robes. And as these women opened their robes, she said, "Now watch, they all have strap-on dildos." Still laugh at that. And if I pass a beauty contest on TV, and they have robes on, looking for a wagon dog guiding these women down the catwalk. I imagine it would kind of go something like this. Right? Anyway, I just wanted to make sure we all shared that visual. But it's not all dick jokes. I loved Moxie's creativity and how her humor was a universe we all got to play in. Her adorable derpy creatures seemed to come from her from some plushy dimension, and she manifested them one jab at a time. I remember visiting her at a maker fair where she was teaching kids how to felt, and I felt such an insane sense of pride. She was making all of this happen, and she was spreading so much joy. She's good at using her lady parts. Paul, calling you Palink, how mustard is yellow somehow was the funniest thing she had heard all year. Running with scissors, I think I still have a business card around here somewhere. And of course, Archie McFired, after she was let go from Archie McPhee. And long answering machine messages. And of course, the infamous, "Whoa!" Which was a reaction to a wasp that caught fire in your living room torchlier halogen lamp. It was a big thing. There are so many trips to Yetwa and Max's, which are restaurants, and enough memories to fill a Silver Eagle record collection in 3 easy payments of $39.99. It takes a person like Moxie to bring so much love and passion to the world, despite whatever challenges she had. There are so few who can do it, and she did. Paraphrasing what she said at her father Gene's funeral, there is a huge hole in my heart and this world that it could black out the sun. I have so many woulda, coulda, shouldas with her and you, and wish I could be more present, but I don't want to fall into excuses. I am happy and so very lucky to have known Moxie, and I got to experience almost all of those moments with you, Paul. When you are ready and you feel like traveling, I'd love to see you come here and visit me. It's crazy here with the kids and work and life, but I can figure something out. I'll stop here, though I'm not sure, though I am sure I could go on. Take care. Love, John. And I just want to share this little guy, who's Nigel, that Moxie gave to me. I have another piece from her named Specimen 1 at my home that she bought from Schmancy. For those of you in the Seattle know, and he's one of Amazing Larry's. That's amazing. Amazing Larry's special friends, and he stays with me. He stays with me at my computer desk all day, and I love him almost as much as I love Moxie and you, Paul, and you, Rachel. Please have a great celebration. Make something, create something out of any scrap of paper today, and bring it home with you as a reminder of this amazing human who brought us so much joy. Thank you.
John mentioned Schmancy, I'll start with, that's how I met Moxie. Was I had a very strange store in Seattle called Schmancy, and I heard about Moxie before I actually met Moxie because people told me, you have to check out this woman's finger puppets, they would go so well with Schmancy. And so I met her, I asked her to host an event for my kickoff show of this thing called Plus You, and we needle felted together for a day at Victrola Coffee, and she just kept saying, "You're done," and I was like, just a little bit more. And then the next day I felt like garbage and decided needle felting wasn't for me, but kudos to Moxie for doing it for so long. So I think I met her in 2007. We became fast friends, needle felting together for the day and cackling a lot. I love talking to her about art and crafting. We watched a lot of RuPaul's Drag Race. We also discussed our latest obsessions, inspired one another, pushed one another, and laughed really hard, especially there were a lot of during moments where we juried for Urban Craft. I won't say the business, but there was a confusing business once that I led, and I just kept saying, but that's what nightstands are for. So she threatened to buy me this item for quite a few years afterwards. I don't need that. So there was a lot of rolling around on Moxie's couch, laughing at everything that we got to see, and a lot of yell talking. I don't know if people are familiar with yell talking, but me and Moxie did a lot of that and probably really annoyed our partner Lindsay with that stuff. But it was great fun for me. So I just wish I just had more time with Moxie. I still sometimes talk to her, and it provides me with comfort, and maybe it does for her. I was looking over my text messages and emails with her, and there were just some things that I feel like she's instilled in probably all of us. So first and foremost is be gentle with yourself. Learning stuff is worth it. Go deeper when you find yourself avoiding things. If you have upset feelings, I'm here for it. Drink water. Give middle fingers with your hands in your pockets when necessary. There shouldn't be so many rules. I also really loved when Moxie said the best or yes with her eyes light up and glistening, and it just, I think I will never hear those words again and not think of Moxie. When reading an email recently, she said, "For that and a million other reasons, you live in my heart forever," and I want to reflect that back to her and to everyone here today. Moxie was a great friend, a great listener, and will forever live in my heart, as I know she will in yours.
Thank you, Kristen.
Hi, Paul.
Writing something for you to read and celebrate the Moxie's life.
Sure what the audience is on this one, but.
Dear Paul, I've been putting off for months writing something for you to read in the celebration of Moxie's life because I couldn't find the right words to express what I deeply feel about her leaving us. But here goes. The first time I met Moxie and you was in one of my journalism classes at College of Marin in Kentfield, California, about 34 years ago. I did not remember until recently that she was 22, and you were only 18. What I did realize almost immediately was that Moxie, who was Melissa at the time, was the most memorable student I have ever encountered in my 8 years of teaching there. I especially remember the hours the three of us spent in our almost all-nighters to produce a camera-ready student newspaper on time, with one computer and pagemaker that none of us knew how to use. My claim to fame is that I was an up-close witness to you and Moxie falling in love in my classroom. Unbeknownst to you, Moxie did discuss with me several times if I thought it was okay for her to be falling in love with someone younger than she. As if I could stop it from happening. And several years later, I was honored to be a guest at your wedding. We're just a few days away from 29 years ago. I agree with you that Moxie had a wicked humor in person, but she also had a unique way of expressing humor in writing. For a while, she wrote a funny humor column for the Echo Times. I believe that she could easily have become a professional writer of some renown, using only that facet of her many, many talents. In recent years, the three of us Zoomed about once a month. Initiated by Moxie, those chats were a gift to me. Again, I was honored that the two of you wanted to spend time talking with me. And while we talked about everything and anything, I also had a chance to observe how you interacted with each other. Lots of eye contact, concern for each other, and very obviously still in love. Although I always knew about Moxie's lung condition and that it made everyday life for both of you a huge challenge, it still shocked and saddened me tremendously to hear about her early death. I will miss her Zooming into my Saturdays once a month. But I will remember her passion for living and for wanting to make the world a better place, which in fact she did. Finally, Moxie's wish to have her body nourish a tree touched my heart. And the timing to learn about that was kind of surreal. I'm almost 90, and I had just shared with my two daughters my wish to do the same. I do believe that some spring day, both of our trees will spring new leaves together and help create clean air for others to breathe more freely than she. And that means that our Moxie will continue to make a positive difference in other people's lives, as she always has. Your loving friend for more than 30 years, Paul, Nancy. And one last word to all of you out there today. Blessings to you for loving Moxie and for being here to love and support Paul. And I just remember I have one more thing. Immediately after, I wrote a little haiku for Moxie, and I'll just read it. It's called Running with Scissors. You know what that means for Moxie. A breath of fresh air, you had me at first meeting, smiling at your flare. And that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day together, and she'll always be in my heart, because I know she will be in yours. Thank you for letting me be part of your ceremony. Bye.
Hi everybody, sorry I could not be there today. Thank you for including me. For those that don't know me, my name is Talia. I am Moxie's god sister. What is a god sister, you ask? Well, the relationship started with Moxie's parents being my godparents. Later on, Moxie being my god sister transpired into a deep, unique relationship of chosen friendship and family. Moxie was my favorite person who brought me so much light and depth. We could joke nonstop about love is blind ridiculousness, and then pivot talking about important real life things. She could hold all of it. We could laugh and cry and be quiet, and it was all love. I will always remember Moxie's self-awareness and ability to express herself in language and in art. Her own self-awareness and presence made me feel grounded and open. I truly felt seen and heard by her. I will miss Moxie's check-ins, text messages, talks, FaceTimes, humor, art, and her deep love and thoughtfulness. I feel so sad that she is gone. My life feels forever changed because she is not here, and it's hard for me to put into words, but I once explained that the impact of Moxie being gone in my life feels like the impact of a species going extinct on the planet. The loss is so big, and I think I will feel it and be impacted by it forever. I have two memories I wanted to share of Moxie. One was that she was very supportive when I was planning my wedding and was there for me through all my bridezilla neuroses. But a couple days before she came down to California for the wedding, she texted a Google search, like an image of her Google search on how to ruin a wedding. Another memory I wanted to share was last year when my daughter brought home her packet of artwork that she had done in art class over her first grade year. My daughter wanted to FaceTime specifically with Moxie and show her because she knew that Moxie was the right person to share her personal hard work with. Moxie happily made time in her day for my daughter's art presentations and said it was the best thing in the world. Moxie's light, warmth, and love will always be with us, and her memory is truly a precious blessing.
I do want to amend the record with what Talia was just saying there about ruining the wedding. That was actually, Talia did not remember this, but that was a reference to when Talia's sister, Shira, was getting married, and Talia actually went to Moxie and kind of whispered, "I'm gonna ruin Talia's wedding." So Talia is just a lovely, very, very funny person as well, and I just needed to make sure you folks knew that. So that was it for our scheduled speakers. We're running a bit behind. We have the place until 2:30, but we have to be like out by 2:30. We can run a little past 2. Up next is listed as the soil distribution ceremony. And this is where things fall down a little, but there's not really much of a ceremony that at least I have planned. If there's anyone who feels like they are able to speak more about the whole recomposition or human composting process, I'll share just briefly. This is, as has been indicated, something that Moxie had wanted for years, had always talked about in a way where, it wasn't expressed very in depth because it couldn't, because it didn't exist. And it turns out that back in 2020, Washington State became the first state to allow this sort of thing. And it's the folks at Recompose who actually got that to happen. And it's now something that is available in, I think, about 9 or 10 different states. So, and it's going to be available in California even soon. But that's part of why we waited so long to have this celebration of life, is the soil needed to take, it's an accelerated process, but it still took a couple of months to complete. To grant Moxie's wish. And as I mentioned, we do have some containers. I'd like everyone to go and to get a container or more. Some of you have brought your own pot, which is great. If people are requiring a full bag, I'll have you wait till the end. And I also have many more at home. So if you're coming to my house, you can probably just best to grab a bag of soil there. It's a beautiful process. As soon as I told people, anytime I talk to people about it, people were just like, "Wow, that's amazing. That's something I didn't know was possible." And I think a lot of people are considering it for themselves. So I am not working on commission here. Perhaps I should be. What's that? Sure. So yeah, I guess we'll just have a line and put on some music. And we gave 45 minutes to do that, but I don't think it'll take that long. And it'd be good to, I'll try to call everyone's attention when we kind of have that, when we're done, and we can get some additional speakers. But Rachel, you want to take a moment? Oh, no, come on.
Hi. Thank you guys for coming. I didn't write anything because I knew this was going to be what was going to happen the whole fucking time. And I didn't want to make you guys suffer through that, but I wanted to just say that I don't have to sell to you guys how special she was. There's so many people in this room who can say she was their best friend, and it's true for every single one. She made so much space and so much time for so many people. I don't know how she did it. And especially over the last 6 years. And I just had my 50th birthday. It's so crazy. And I still think of my sisters as a teenager, just like I think of myself a lot of the time. And we had to raise each other in a lot of ways. And sometimes I was the parent, often she was the parent. We took turns teaching each other things. And like 50 years definitely was not enough, but it was pretty incredible. 55 years of being on this planet and being able to give to everybody the way that she did wasn't enough for me, and I'm sure it wasn't enough for any of you. It's hard to picture what it'll look like moving forward. I want to tell her so many things every day. I want to text her something stupid that would make her laugh, and making her laugh was like my favorite thing to do. I'm funny, but she's so funny. And if I can get her to laugh, that's right. I just want to thank you guys and everybody who's been here for Paul, and thank Paul for putting all of this together and for everybody who helped him. And just sucks, right? And it's very strange to be the last little Lieberman standing in our little group. But it feels really precious to have people here who I grew up with and who knew us all our lives. And those of you who I've gotten to be close with and friends with because my sister brought you into my life also.
Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, I guess we should get started with the gathering, distributing the soil to folks. I'll see you outside.
There's so many good prizes.
Yeah.
I feel like I should have Paul or a BFF open the first bag. I would not do it, but I feel like it could be somebody special to open the first bag. Well, I would just have it, so it's a nice spot. You don't need to get bought. Say he had to, but
I let Paul know.
Oh, okay. I was like, it doesn't have to be him, but I felt like if somebody wanted the special moment, it should be them.
Yeah, I know. Do you have a tree in mind? I do.
I wondered the same thing, like if people want to be the first to open.
Sure, why not?
I didn't know if you could just tear it open, but I thought it might be smoother to slice. You don't have to.
Yeah, I think. So, I think it might just be good to. You want to open this one? Yeah.
You want me to open here?
I think that would, yeah.
Might need to lift this one. Just spill. Or do you think you'll?
So I think I'm gonna go ahead and get one for myself. I think there's something roughly equivalent to the whole idea with the Jewish burial, that if everyone kind of does it self-serve, kind of, it's kind of the inverse or something.
And there's like, there's several tools up there, so we could, more of us could go.
And feel free to grab a couple of containers. Again, actually, now that we have some of these empty bags, people want to fill part of the bag or something. I would also like to point out the irony of ostensibly the disease that she got. It was nocardia, which she had termed the goddamn soil disease. She's, I don't know. Oh, there are lids, so you don't spill her in the car.
She would love that.
And yeah, so like even if you're planning to take a bag later, maybe just symbolically grabbing one of these.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh. I will here yeah. 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 Right. So, yeah.
I like it.
Okay. And
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to go get glasses and the lady was like giving me all these fancy glasses and I was like, what's like on the cheap? I saw these. She's like, oh, those actually work. I was like, okay, thanks. Right. Yeah. You get up this right, it's like a mix of like a salesperson and also like a good staff. And flexible, so you're not always forcing someone into it. Yeah, so people that are good at it, it's really special skill.
The assistant was like far superior. I don't know if this was too quick.
yeah.
But guess what? I did announce it, but probably it's considered remarkable.
Yeah.
I'm better.
They were like,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are
The paper with the this is actually
Yeah.
If anyone hasn't signed the art book, don't forget that there's a lovely art memorial book here.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
It's working. No, probably be good. Yeah, yeah. I actually people are someone
thinking I should move. I don't think we're gonna be out here much longer. So. But it's okay. Yeah, I only went back to the same spot. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's how it goes. Yeah.
Technical details.
Yeah.
And we rotate.
And pull back up. Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. But if well, that's not a work too. It's just not a lot. It's not a case of Good to know. Yeah.
It was just a culmination of.
Yeah. That is so sounds like perfect. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's like I mean, I But I know it's,
Just throwing that out. Larry's signature sign, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was painful. And then, yeah.
there can be.
Yeah, sure. Very helpful. Fun and
There's one of the bathrooms outside.
What? Oh, he's talking with her. Okay. Sorry. I'll make sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna come back together here in a couple minutes and sing a song together. Come back and find a seat when you have a chance. It's good to meet you. I'll see you at least in the rest of this.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
If you want to make sure that you have lyrics to the song on the table, it will be on the screen too, but different song that's in the program.
Here to back me up, right? Yeah. So, the program says we're going to sing No One Is Alone from Into the Woods, but I changed my mind a few days, about a week ago, and this is actually a song that Moxie had at one point at least told me that this is a song she wanted to be played at her for funeral or celebration of life, and so that's what we're doing. The thing that'll be particularly useful or handy is that you might see anything on the TV here. She even made this karaoke video a few years back, so for this song, because we started doing a lot of karaoke, and there were times when, as great as and as deep as like people doing YouTube stuff can be, there were times when it's like no one has done this, so she started doing it herself. I encourage you to check out her channel. So a lot of it is just filling in the blanks of. There's a lot of other great songs we love that other people had already done. It's kind of cool to have these very personal songs to her. Let me figure out what's going on with the video and we'll get going.
And the YouTube channel is called Hang In There.
like okay.
Troubleshoot something like this. All right. Are you crazy man? Didn't notice her. You must be blind. I do now. Think about how we will be mine. Couldn't stand up, I couldn't sit down. One look at her and I stumbled around. Look at her, I get irrational. She ties my tongue so down. Every day she brought the sun. She's not a part of the scene, doesn't socialize. She does her own thing. She's ahead of her time, just the right speed. She is staggering. Couldn't stand up, couldn't sit down. One look at her and I stumble around. She is staggering. Moxie's staggering. She's uncommonly heavenly. She is so rare. She's beautiful, exceptional. She doesn't care. Couldn't stand up, couldn't sit down. One look at her and I stumbled around. Couldn't go to sleep, and I couldn't leave. She's all that I want, she's all that I need. She is staggering. She is staggering. She is staggering. Moxie's staggering. Thanks everyone. So I guess all that, we've got some time left. We need to be completely done by 2:30. I'm thinking we can really go until about 2:10. I would like to invite people to take, if they'd like to share some thoughts, those of you who, I'm sure there's plenty of people who have stories that, or observations or what have you, to take 2 to 3 minutes. We're going to have some timing things so that we want to keep things moving, but I would love to have you. Anyone like to share some stories?
And also a reminder to sign the guest book that's in the back corner.
That as well. Yeah. guess I want to thank everyone for coming. And yeah, that means we can wrap things up and have folks come back to my place when we're done. Again, if you need the address, let me know. But thank you all for coming out to help us celebrate and say goodbye and share the love of a magnificent person who was sadly gone too soon. So, yeah, thank you all.
Oh.